Science has changed our world. It cured diseases. It took us to the moon, but sometimes it crossed the line. Welcome to Top 5 Science Experiments That Went Too Far. These are not just stories. They're chilling reminders of what happens when ethics are ignored in the name of discovery. Let's begin. The year was 1943. World War II was raging, and the U.S. Navy was desperate for an edge. According to conspiracy theorists, the military tested something radical: electromagnetic cloaking. The USS Eldridge, a naval destroyer, was supposedly fitted with equipment designed to bend light and possibly space-time. Then came the alleged result. Witnesses say the ship disappeared from the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard and reappeared briefly in Norfolk, Virginia, over 300 kilometers away. Even more disturbing, some crew members were said to have suffered mental breakdowns. Others were fused into the steel hull of the ship. Yes, literally embedded in metal. While the Navy has denied the experiment ever occurred, the story emerged from the testimony of Carl L. Allen, a former merchant marine. To this day, many believe the experiment was real, and it may have revealed something about the fabric of space and time we're not ready to understand. What happens when a government tries to control the human mind? From the 1950s to the 1970s, the CISMK-Ultra program aimed to answer that question with terrifying results. The Project-S goal was simple: create mind control techniques to use on enemies during the Cold War. But the methods were anything but simple or ethical. Victims, often unaware they were being studied, were subjected to high doses of LSD hypnosis sessions, sleep deprivation, sensory isolation, and sometimes electroshock torture. Some were prisoners. Others were patients in mental hospitals. One famous case is Frank Olson, a scientist who allegedly jumped from a 13th floor window after being drugged by colleagues. His death remains controversial. Some believe he was murdered to silence him. When details of MK-Ultra were exposed in 1975, public outrage followed. But the full scope of the project is unknown. Most of the files were destroyed. What remains is a disturbing legacy of science weaponized against its own people. This is one of the darkest chapters in American medical history. From 1932 to 1972, the U.S. Public Health Service ran a study in Tuskegee, Alabama, involving over 600 African-American men, to 399 of whom had syphilis. These men were never told they had the disease. They were never treated, even after penicillin became widely available in the 1940s. Instead, researchers watched, for decades, as the disease destroyed their bodies and minds. They wanted to understand the natural progression of untreated syphilis. The result? Dozens died. Many passed the disease to their wives and children. In 1972, a whistleblower revealed the truth to the media. The fallout led to major changes in bioethics laws, including informed consent and independent medical review boards. But the damage was done. It left a scar on medical trust that still echoes today. In 1971, psychology professor Philip Zimbardo designed an experiment to study how power affects human behavior. The setting: a mock prison in the basement of Stanford University. 24 college students were randomly assigned roles: guards or prisoners. The experiment was supposed to last 2 weeks. It lasted only 6 days. Why? Because the results were horrifying. The guards became abusive. They imposed humiliating punishments. They made prisoners clean toilets with their bare hands. Some prisoners broke down emotionally. Others rebelled and were punished harshly. Zimbardo himself became too absorbed in his role as prison superintendent. It wasn't until a colleague intervened that he shut the experiment down. The Stanford Prison Experiment remains controversial, criticized for lacking scientific rigor. But it proved one thing: ordinary people can become monsters when given unchecked power. From the 1940s to the 1970s, U.S. researchers conducted radiation experiments on unsuspecting civilians. They injected people with plutonium, uranium, and other radioactive isotopes without consent. Some were cancer patients. Others were pregnant women or children. In some cases, radioactive oatmeal was fed to boys at a state school for the mentally disabled. The goal? To study how radiation moves through the human body. The side effects? Increased cancer risk, birth defects, and in some cases, death. These were not isolated incidents. Over 4,000 experiments were conducted across the U.S. When the truth emerged in the 1990s, the U.S. government issued formal apologies. But for many victims, it was too late. These were real experiments, conducted by real institutions. They remind us that science without ethics is a dangerous force. Which one shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments. And if you want more stories of strange history, chilling science, and hidden truths, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Stay curious.